All right. Hi, hello. Welcome to Trash Cats. Trash Cats is a solo made visual novel by me, Kyrie Jordan, who was in the Waste to Value agrotech program, obviously with assistance from the agrotech teachers, but it is a solo project. First off, what is Waste to Value? What did it teach us? The Waste to Value program taught its students about how, why, and when to upcycle their waste products themselves, turning it into something useful again. Some examples of this that we actually did is we made hempcrete blocks, and we used onion peels to dye cotton. I believe they were cotton shirts. For a bit more context, I want to say what a visual novel is. So a visual novel is a video game text on story. This is often accompanied by character traits and decision making that will affect the course of the story. You can see this example. At the top, we have a few examples of character sprites, and at the bottom, this is actually a map that someone made for their visual novel that dictates the decisions you make and the different routes that the story can take based on those decisions. Visual novels may also have voice acting, fully drawn scenes, and high player expression. They're usually short but have high replay value and can be found in many different genres. Some examples of a visual novel that you may recognize are the psychological horror game Doki Doki Literature Club, the romance game Our Life Beginnings and Always, and the other romance game Repurpose. So, with all that context out of the way, what is Trash Cats? Trash Cats is an in-production visual novel based in New York City about saving cats from the waste that humans produce. The player wakes up as a cat only to discover that the infamous colony of alley cats is really struggling with survival in what was once a haven of rats and shelter. The player has the opportunity to help the cats survive in this new nightmare, including learning how to reuse products and recycle them properly. Alongside this, they get to learn about the cats themselves and how they ended up in this city alleyway. The player's friendships and actions can dictate the opportunities they have. The cats will use their experience with the trash to help the player find solutions, so the player does not have to have a whole lot of in advance education about this type of subject because the cats will sort of act as guides, and all you need is a bit of imagination to help them. So this is the gallery. This is some drawings, sprites, and other in-progress assets. Here we have a picture of the very beginning of the basic script. I'd like to read a little bit of the script. This is the very beginning of the game. So it starts with the scene of the user walking home, throwing something into a recycling bin. The game says, "What a long day. At least now you can get home. Not before you recycle this bottle, though. Considering the amount of trash in the alleys, it's important. A lot of this stuff still ends up in the landfill. But what else are you supposed to do? Just a dead-end worker in a trash-filled city. You got no other use for this. So in the green bin it goes. Hopefully it can turn into something useful again." After it introduces the concept of the cats, the player then spots a cat at the mouth of the alleyway that has a bit of trash on its tail, tightly wound around its tail, causing a bloody wound. Then thinks, "Is that a cat? Sure looks like it. I think it's injured. Poor thing. That looks like it hurts. I guess there's some more trash back there than I saw." And that's when you get the first choice of the game to try and help the cat or walk away. Besides that, this is the very first character I made. This is her character reference and her sketch versus her finished design. This is not her finalized sprite. This is just a reference. Here are some prototype sprites, though, that I made to practice a little bit, get a feel for it. These are what the sprites are made of, and those are some actually on her face. Here is another character reference, as well as the reference I used for the cat designs. My final sprites may use a simplistic and lineless style, as shown here, as opposed to the style shown in the references. Also, here is a rough sketch of the game's first scene. I know it doesn't look like a bottle or a recycling bin, but it's okay. It's a rough sketch. Anyway, thank you. Thank you so much for listening. I'm currently happy with the game's idea, and I hope you are too. Do we have any questions?
All right, that was really creative. Thank you for your presentation. I'm wondering if you could share a couple more examples of how individuals, I don't know if they're called players.
The player.
Yeah.
Someone who plays the game.
some examples of reuse and recycling that they would learn by participating in this game?
Yes, I don't have precise examples, but I can share some concepts I have. Since this is based in New York City, there's going to be a variety of like food waste, think Starbucks cups, expired food, stuff like that, and maybe a wrapper that's waterproof you can use for shelters for the cats. You have to, since the cats have knowledge about these things, they know at least some of the properties that this stuff has, so they can tell how durable it is, if it's waterproof, things like that. And they know what foods are safe to eat and such. And with that guidance, the player can make decisions, and those decisions will have consequences.